Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Give me a second here, inshallah ta'ala. And also, my apologies for starting the class late. Just give me a second here. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala ashraf al-anbiya'i wal mursaleen nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Amma ba'du. So we're going to begin our class bi'ithnillahi ta'ala with a Tafseer as-Sa'di, interpretation and explanation of verses of the Quran by Al-Allama Al-Sheikh As-Sa'di rahimahullah. So we've dealt with, we're in Surah An-Naba. We've spoken about what does Naba mean, that is the great news. What is this great news in which the people who disbelieve are asking themselves about or talking to each other about? Then we talked about the punishment of the hellfire. We spoke about the reason why those people will be in the hellfire. And now we have reached another part or another topic which is discussed in this surah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, Inna lil muttaqina mafaza hadaiqa wa a'naba wa kawa'iba aturaba wa ka'san dihaqa la yasma'una fiha laghwa wa la kadhaba jaza'an min rabbika 'ata'an hisaba. So the Shaykh here explaining these verses, these 5 verses, he says, لما ذكر حال المجرمين ذكر مآل المتقين. So after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned and discussed the situation and the condition of the criminals, those people who disbelieve in him, he's now going to mention the final abode or the place of return for those who are muttaqeen, for those who are righteous. So he says in excuse me. So he says, Inna lil muttaqina mafaza. Verily, for those who are muttaqi, for those who are righteous, is mafaza, a place of foes, a place which is for those who win. The Shaykh, he explains by saying, Ay alladhina ittaqu sakhata rabbihim wa bitamassuku or bitamassuki bita'atihi والانكفاف عما يكره فلهم مفاز ومنجي وبعد عن النار وفي ذلك المفاز لهم. So the Shaykh here explaining this, saying that those who feared, who had taqwa of the anger of their Lord, or from the anger of their Lord, holding on to that which, or holding on to his obedience, and withholding from those things that he disliked, then they will have a place of reward and be safe, being far away from the hellfire, and this is going to be a victory for them. حدائق وهي البساتين الجامعة لأصناف الأشجار الزاهية في الثمار التي تتفجر بين خلالها الأنهار وخص الأعناب لشرفها وكثرتها في تلك الحدائق. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that these people, they'll have an abode, in it is reward. And then he said hada'iq, and hada'iq is talking about gardens that are filled with all different types of vegetations and trees, and from these gardens they'll pour from within them rivers. And the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned al-a'nab, or grapes, is because it is distinguished from amongst the other fruits, and also because of its abundance that's going to be present in those gardens. وَلَهُمْ فِيهَا زَوْجَاتٌ عَلَى مَطَالِبِ النُّفُوسِ. And also, they will have partners in which their souls desire. كواعب وهي نواهد التي لم تتكسر ثديهن من شبابهن وقوتهن ونضارتهن. So, speaking about the people, their partners in the paradise, that they will be young and pristine and without fault. Then it says, وَالْأَتْرَابَ الَّتِي عَلَى سِنٍّ وَاحِدٍ مُتَقَارِبٍ. Al-Aturab here, the Sheikh explains that they'll be close in age or similar in age. ومن عادة الأتراب أن يكون متآلفات متعاشرات. And he said that the reason why that is that, usually al-Aturab, the people that fit this description, they are affectionate, docile, someone that is easy to live with. وذلك السن الذي هن فيه 33 سنة في أعدل سن الشباب. He said that age in which they will be the age of 33, which is the best age for someone to be in. وكأسا دهاقا. And now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after mentioning the type of partners which will be waiting for them in paradise, he says وكأسا دهاقا, which means cups that are filled. And he says here, the Sheikh says, أي مملوءة من رحيق لذة للشاربين. That will be filled with something sweet, with a nectar that is sweet, that will be tasty or delicious to those who drink it. لا يسمعون فيها لغوا. And as for them not hearing in there any type of foul or any type of speech that is of no importance, the Sheikh explained it saying that a kalaman la fa'ida fi, that this is talking about speech that there is no benefit, speech that has no benefit. Wala kidhaba, a ithman, and also they will not hear anything that is in it a disobedience or sin. كما قال تعالى لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا تأثيما إلا قليلا إلا قيلا سلاما سلاما. In another verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as a proof for this, he says that they will not hear in there any speech of insignificance and nothing of sin, except that it will be said salama salama, peace peace. وإنما أعطاهم الله هذا الثواب الجزيل من فضله وإحسانه. Then the Shaykh mentioned that the only reason that they were given this great reward is from from what Allah willed to provide to them, and from the good that He has with Him. جزاء من ربهم, and is a reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to them. عطاء حسابا, as what has been given for their account. And it means here a bisababi a'malihim, and it's talking about the reason therefore is because of the actions, their actions, allati wafaqahumullahu laha, the actions that they did, which Allah was the one who guided them to those actions. وَجَعْلَهَا ثَمَنًا لِجَنَّتِهِ وَنَعِيمِهَا, and He made those actions have value and be the reason why they earn His paradise and the blessings therein. So those were the 5 ayahs which we covered, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He explains therein the situation of the people who are muttaqi and what will be waiting for them of bliss and sa'ada and happiness. Are there any questions covering anything from this book before we continue on? Because we're gonna stop right there with this book, inshallah ta'ala. Remember, if you have a question, you could just send it in the messenger, hangout, or anything like that, inshallah ta'ala, and I'll try to read that and answer it. If there aren't any questions, then we'll move on, inshallah ta'ala, to the other book. So we're still on the first hadith of Jami' al-Ulum wal-Hikam by Ibn Rajab, and it's the same hadith, the first hadith that is in Arba'in an-Nawawiyya, the 40 hadith of Imam an-Nawawi. And now we're at the 4th benefit or explanation of this hadith, in which the Shaykh Abdul Muhsin, he says, قوله إنما الأعمال بالنيات إنما أداة حصر والأل في الأعمال قيل إنها خاصة في القرب وقيل إنها للعموم في كل عمل فما كان منها قربة أثيب عليه فاعله وما كان منها من أمور العادات كالأكل والشرب والنوم فإن صاحبه يثاب عليه إذا نوى به التقوى على الطاعة التقوي على الطاعة والألف واللام بالنيات بدلا من الضمير ها، أي الأعمال بنيتها. والمتعلق الجار والمجرور محذوف تقديره معتبرة، أي أن الأعمال معتبرة بنياتها. والنية في اللغة القصد، وتأتي للتمييز بين العبادات كتمييز فرض عن فرض أو فرض عن نفل. وتمييز العبادات من العادات كالغسل من الجنابة من الغسل للتبرد وتنظف. The Shaykh is going to explain, I'll go into more detail about the first word in which the Prophet Sallallahu, alaihi, said in this hadith, which is إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Verily, all actions are by their intention. So he says that the word إِنَّمَا is a tool or a device that is used to restrict that which comes after it. And then he says, al-al in a'mal, the alif and lam that's in a'mal, there are some opinions in regards to what does this signify. And al-a'mal means actions. Al-a'mal means the actions actually. So it is a definite article. So here the Sheikh, now this is going to be a lot of linguistics involved. So if you can't follow, don't worry too much about it. So here the Sheikh is saying that, it is said that this is talking about, this is being specific, which is what it would be in English, being a definite article. You're talking about something specific. So he said that the thing that it's talking about here are those things that are acts of worship, basically. And another opinion is, no, it is general. So in Arabic, alif and lam, from the meanings, is that it could be talking about something specific, a general article, or it could be talking about something in general. When you're speaking about the jins, or the jins would be the origin of that thing in itself, I guess you can say, or the category of that thing, and not any specific one of that category. So he says here that the other opinion is that it is for general, speaking about every action. So that means then that which is for worship and for getting close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the person will be rewarded for doing it. And that which is not, I mean, is for that, there's something that we do every day, has nothing to do with worship, such as eating and drinking and sleeping, then the person will only be rewarded for those things if he intended by those things to be an aid for him upon the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he goes on to say, then the alif and lam, that which makes it a definite article, which will be in Arabic, in English, equivalent to the. If we want to make something a definite article in English, we put the in front of it. The car, the bus. And if we want to make it at an indefinite article, then we put a or an in front of it. We say a car, right? An apple. So the Sheikh, he then goes on to say, so the alif and lam now in a niyat, in the word intentions, is something that is used in place of the pronoun ha, meaning it. Or actually here it wouldn't be a pronoun, it would be a an adjective of some sort. I forgot what type of adjective it's called. I can't remember right now, but it's a type of a adjective like, his, hers, mine, like that. So here it's its. So and the Sheikh explains this, and it explains it saying that what it means is that every action is by its intentions. Actions are by its intentions. So in the original text of what the Prophet ﷺ says, al-a'mal bin niyat, actions are by the intentions. And the intentions, the here is talking about is a replacement for its. So its intentions. Okay, then he explains some things talking about the jar wal majrur, talking about bin niyat, the ba there, right? And he said that it is indicating that there's something that is absent, that is understood just by the structure of the sentence. So he explained that what this is really trying to say is that actions, that the word that is missing there that is understood is the word considered. So he said that this means that actions are considered in according to their intentions or its intentions. Then he explains what niya, the word niya, means linguistically. So it says niya means in linguistically al-qasd, which is intentions, what someone wants or intend. And he said that the reason why it's used now, he said that it is used to distinguish between acts of worship. For example, distinguishing between one obligation from another. Like, for example, he didn't mention it here, but for example, distinguishing between praying Asr and praying Dhuhr. Those are two acts of worship which are obligatory, and what distinguishes is them one from the other than time, of course, is your intention. He gives another example of the way that the niyyah is used to distinguish things. He says also distinguishing an obligation, an obligated act of worship from a supplementary act of worship. So distinguishing between a sunnah prayer from an obligatory prayer like Dhuhr and Asr. وَتَمْيِيزُ الْعِبَادَةِ عَنِ الْعَادَةِ, and also a niyyah is used to distinguish between that which is worship from that which is just an everyday act, something that we do normally, such as taking a bath with the intention or the purpose of removing the major state of spiritual or religious impurity, as opposed to taking a bath to cool down or to clean oneself. And with that, we're going to stop right there because that's the fourth benefit that we've covered. Are there any questions about this book, the fourth benefit that we just covered, or anything from before, the first, second, or third benefits we covered already? Let me make sure, because sometimes the alarm doesn't go off, or there's no notification for when someone sends a question. Okay, since there aren't any questions, we'll just move on, inshallah ta'ala, to the third book, which is that. Hold on, there's somebody that wants to be added to the class here. Let me try and see if I can get him in. Hold on, let me stop this for a second. Okay, so now we're going to continue on, going to the next book, which is the explanation of Usul al-Thalatha by Sheikh Muhammad Aman Al-Jami, rahimahullah, rahmatan wasi'ah. And we're still dealing with the biography of Sheikh al-Islam, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, before we actually get into the book. So the Sheikh, or the Emir of Uyayna, this is where we've reached in the story so far, that the Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, he had begun his da'wah after traveling, after studying and stuff like that, and viewing himself to be ready. He started spreading his da'wah, and his da'wah met with opposition, and those people who would help, and from the people that would help was the governor of Uyayna, which is his hometown. The governor vowed to help him, but because of a certain incident, the governor was threatened by another governor, the governor of Ihsa, that if he doesn't expel the sheikh from his city or town, that, you know, such and such a thing would happen. So let's see who's been paying attention. What was the incident? What was the incident which caused Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, or was a, you could say, a pinnacle incident which caused the sheikh to be kicked out of Uyayna, or forced to leave Al-Uyayna? What was the incident? Okay, so the answer to this is the incident of establishing the punishment on the woman that came to him and confessed to committing fornication, or adultery. I'm sorry, adultery. So the sheikh, he left Uyayna and went to a Dar'iyah, in which he spent time in the house of Suwaylim. And while he was in Dar'iyah, Muhammad ibn Saud, and this is where you get the word Saudi from, or Saudiya as it's called in Arabic, from Muhammad ibn Saud. Muhammad ibn Saud, he heard or began to know of him and his arrival to Dar'iyah. فلما علم أخذ بعض أصحابه فذهب أخذ بعض أصحابه فذهب إلى بيت ابن سويلم ولم يدعه إلى منزله فزارت وتعرف عليه وهدى الله الأسرة وطلبت الأسرة رجالا ونساء من الإمام محمد بن سعود أن يؤازر هذا الرجل وأن تبنى هذه الدعوة فيعتبرها نعمة سيقت إليه وفعلا آزر وأعلن مؤازرته للدعوة والشيخ نصحه وبين له كما بين لأمير العيينة صعوبة هذه الدعوة أنها دعوة عامة لا تترك شيئا من الجاهليات لا في العقيدة ولا في الأحكام تجديد عام للدعوة المحمدية واستعد الأمير محمد بن سعود لمؤازرة الدعوة وتعاهد عن القيام بالعمل الجاد في الدعوة. Okay, so when Al-Imam Muhammad ibn Saud, he heard about the arrival of Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab to Dar'iyah, he gathered some of his companions and he went to him. So they introduced themselves to each other, began to know each other after the visit and stuff like that. And because of this, Allah guided his family and so forth. You know, that family requested from their family, the family of Al-Imam Muhammad ibn Saud, to accept the dawah and to aid it and so forth. And this family, they adopted the dawah. And this was seen as a blessing that was given to them. So they began to establish the dawah like they had promised, calling to it. And then Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, he advised them and clarified to him, like he did to the governor of Uyayna, the difficulties of adhering and calling to this da'wah. And that this da'wah is a general call, a general Islamic call. That there's nothing that is going to be left out of it from anything that has to do with the ignorance, which is in opposition to issues of aqidah or rulings. This is a renewal, a general renewal of the da'wah, the call of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu, alaihi, sallam. And because of this, the advice of Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab to Al-Amir Muhammad ibn Saud, he began to prepare himself to aid and establish this da'wah. And he promised and took an oath to do what needs to be done with serious intent to make this happen. فصارت الدرعية عاصمة للدعوة. And because of this, a Dar'iyah became the capital for the da'wah. يهاجر إليها طلاب العلم للعلم وللتعبد هناك قرب الشيخ. So because this had became the capital of the da'wah, the students of knowledge started to migrate towards it so that they can learn and worship close to the sheikh. وانطلقت الدعوة من هناك وبدأ الشيخ يكتب إلى الأمراء في جميع الأقطار. So from there, the da'wah started to spread. From Dar'iyah, the da'wah started to spread. And this is when Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, he began to write letters to the different leaders and governors around him in the different areas. يشرح موقفه من الأئمة الأربعة. And in these letters, he explained his position in regards to the four school of thoughts and the imam of those school of thoughts. وموقفه من الصحابة, and also his opinion of the companions. وموقفه من نصوص الصفات وموقفه من باب التوسل. He also explained his opinion about the sifat, the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also the issue of tawassul, getting closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وهكذا بدأت الدعوة, and this is how the da'wah began. واستمرت إلا أن وصلت إلى هذه المدينة النبوية. So this is how the da'wah began, and it continued to grow like this until it reached the prophetic city of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, al-Medina. وعمت الجزيرة ولكن الدعايات لا تزال تنتشر في الآفاق. هناك مذهب خاص، هناك الوهابية، هناك وهناك، فصار العمل هو الرد. وألفت الكتب ضد هذه الدعوة. So not only did the da'wah of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, it reached all the way to Medina, where it began to spread to the Gulf countries or the Gulf area. But even while this was going on, there were still claims and accusations being spread about the Imam and his da'wah. Accusations such as there's now a fifth madhab, a fifth school of thought, or these people are Wahhabiyya, you're Wahhabis. And this is when these accusations were being spread, this is when the Sheikh started to write and author books refuting these claims. وانتشرت في العالم فعرف أكثر الناس هذه الدعوة على غير حقيقتها وأنها دعوة مناءة للأئمة الأربعة والأولياء وأنها لا تحترم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. I'm sorry, there's a mistake in the translation here. Not that the Sheikh started to write refuting these claims, but people started to write about these claims to refute the da'wah. Okay, there were things, there were books authored refuting the da'wah of the Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, and because of this, this is what people know of the da'wah. They know, other than its truth, the truth in which it is established upon. They believe that the da'wah of the Sheikh, the da'wah of the Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, excuse me, that it is something that was meant to take away from the position of the four imams. And it's a take away from the awliya, those who are close to Allah. and that the people who are attributed to this da'wah, that they do not love the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi, or the companions. وهكذا إلى غير ذلك من الدعايات التي أخذت تتبخر شيئا فشيئا، إلا أن في مثل هذا الوقت وانتشرت الدعوة ووصلت إلى أفريقيا، وتوجد الآن هناك مدارس كثيرة تدرس نفس المنهج المقرر في المدارس السعودية في المرحلة الابتدائية والمتوسطة والثانوية، وانتشرت في قارة الهندية، وانتشرت في الدول العربية، إلى أن خرجت من الديار الإسلامية وفتحت لها أبواب في نفوس الناس وفي صدور الناس من أوروبا وأمريكا، وانتشرت. So he says that even this being the case, there were people that were in staunch opposition to the da'wah, that were writing books and making claims against the call of Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab that were not true. The call of Al-Imam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, it spread little by little to the point that it reached Africa. And Sheikh, if you guys don't know anything about Sheikh Muhammad Al-Jami, Sheikh Muhammad Al-Jami is originally from Africa, around the the area of Ethiopia. Rahimahullah. So he said that this dawah, it reached Africa. He said that even now, today, you can find a lot of schools in which the methodology and the curriculum in which they teach is the same curriculum that is taught in Saudi Arabia. And this is in all of the stages of school, whether it be elementary, middle school, or junior high, and high school. And he said that this dawah even spread it to the Asian Peninsula, or the Asian, or what is called Asia. Nah. And this dawah is also spread to the other Arabic or Arab countries. Hold on. Nah. Actually, right now I'm giving a class, so I'll call you back when I'm done, inshallah. Okay, all right, sorry. Okay, yeah, so he said that this dawah, it spread to those places, and also it left, this dawah spread so much that it even left the places of Islam, the Islamic countries, till it was able to spread to places and reach the hearts of the people in such places as Europe and America. وانتشرت وعمت لذلك جميع الحركات حول هذه الدعوة، وضد هذه الدعوة إنما هي حركة الشاة المذبوحة، تتحرك لتموت لا لتحيي، والدعوة ماشية بحمد الله تعالى، وتنصح بدراسة العقيدة والأحكام وفروع اللغة العربية وعلوم الحديث وعلوم القرآن، وكل علم نافع يكون مساعدا لفهم الكتاب والسنة، وطلب العلم نوع من الجهاد، وأنتم في جهاد طالما تطلبون العلم، والعلم قبل القول والعمل. Okay, and this is the last part of the biography in which the Sheikh, he says, so this da'wah, this call in which the Sheikh has called to it is spread. Then they said this is the reason why all actions and all things that the people try to do to stop this dawah, he considers it, or he compares it to the movement in which, or he considers these type of movements that are made to try to stop the dawah to a slaughtered sheep. That is only in any event, it's going to just die. It's going to be slaughtered. It's not going to continue to live. But this dawah, he said that this dawah, by the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is still around. And then he says that we advise the scholars, they advise that people study books of Aqidah or Aqidah in general, and those things dealing with ahkam, jurisprudence, and those things dealing with the lugha, the Arabic language, and the science of Hadith, the science of Quran, and any beneficial knowledge that will help someone to understand the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Sunnah, and help in seeking knowledge. And he says that seeking knowledge is a type of jihad. It's a type of striving in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says, speaking to the students of knowledge, he said that you are now in a jihad. As long as you continue to seek knowledge, you're in jihad. And then he says, and knowledge comes before speech and actions. And you guys will see, if you have never studied this book, you'll begin to know that that quote right there is from this book that we're going to read the explanation of. And with that, we have finished the biography of Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. So the next time, for the next class, we'll go right into the actual explanation of the book, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Any questions so far about anything covered in this part? Any questions? Okay, since there aren't any questions, we'll just move right on ahead to the next topic, which is Mukhtasar Sirat al-Nabi Sallallahu, alaihi wasallam, an abridgment of the biography of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu, alaihi. Now, we've covered the nasab of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu, alaihi, and we're going now to discuss the nasab, or the lineage of his mother. So it says here, wa ummu Rasulillahi sallallahu alaihi wasallam Amina bintu Wahbin ibni Abdi Manaf ibni Zuhrat ibni Kulab ibni Murra ibn Ka'b ibni Lu'ay ibn Ghalib. So he said that that's the lineage of the mother of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And where the lineage of the Prophet Muhammad, his mother, meets with that of his father is in Abdu Manaf. Okay, so now let's talk about his birth. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it says here, Wulida Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam bi Mecca Am al-Fil. As everyone should know, the year that the Prophet ﷺ was born in, and it's the year of the elephant. So it says that the Prophet ﷺ was born the year of the elephant, fi shahr al-Rabi' al-Awwal, in the month of Rabi' al-Awwal. Laylatayni khalata minhu. After 2 days, 2 days after the month had began, Yom al-Ithnain, on a Monday. وقال بعضهم بعد الفيل ب30 عاما. It says some people have said that he was born after the incident of the elephants, because al-fil is the elephants, by 30 years. So he was born 30 years after that. قال بعضهم ب40 عاما. And some people say he was born 40 years after that. والصحيح أنه ولد عام الفيل. But the correct opinion is that he was born the year of the elephant. In fact, those other opinions are not really something that we can even consider. So it's kind of strange that the Sheikh he would mention it, because some scholars they have said that there's consensus on the fact that the Prophet Sallallahu, alaihi, sallam was born the year of the elephant. But as far as, and notice here too as well that the Sheikh did not get into any other specifics other than that, but there's difference of opinion as well in the exact date of birth within the month of Rabi' al-Awwal, even though they agree that it's on a Monday. But when on a Monday in Rabi' al-Awwal was he born, difference of opinion, and so forth. Okay. وفاة والد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وأمه وجده. Now, let me see if we should cover this or not. Yeah, let's cover it and then we'll stop right there, bi'ithnillahi ta'ala. So we're going to cover the death or the passing of the Prophet's parents and his grandfather. So it says, وَمَاتَ أَبُوهُ Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib. Now, you guys remember the name of the Prophet Sallallahu father? A very common name in Islam and outside of and out of Islam, meaning before the Prophet Sallallahu. What was his name? Does anyone know the name of the Prophet Muhammad's father? What was the Prophet Muhammad's father's name? When we spoke about the lineage of the Prophet Muhammad and up to where you guys should know. You guys should know a certain amount. You guys should know a certain amount from his lineage, at least to his grandfather. So he's Muhammad, the son of Abdullah. So his father's name is Abdullah. And his grandfather is Abdul Muttalib. So it says here that his father died ورسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قد أتى له 28 شهرا. He died when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was 28 months old. 28 months old. وقال بعضهم مات أبوه وهو ابن 7 أشهر. So that some of them, another opinion is that his father died when he was 7 months old. وقال بعضهم مات أبوه في دار النابغة وهو حمل. And some people say that his father died in a place called Dar al-Nabigha while he was still in his mother's. He wasn't born yet. He was conceived, but he wasn't born. وقيل مات بالأبواء بين مكة والمدينة. And it's also said that his father died in Abwa, and this is a place that's between Mecca and Medina. وقال أبو عبد الله الزبير بن بكار الزبيري توفي عبد الله بن عبد المطلب بالمدينة ورسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ابن شهرين. Now, Abu Abdullah al-Zubair ibn Bakkar al-Zubairi, he said that his father died in Medina when the Prophet Sallallahu alaihi wasallam was only 2 months old. ومات أمه وهو ابن أربع سنين ومات. And now it says here that his mother died when he was 4 years old. ومات جده عبد المطلب وهو ابن 8 سنين. And his grandfather Abdul Muttalib died when he was 8 years old. وقيل ماتت أمه وهو ابن 6 سنين. And it is also said, another opinion about the death of his mother is that she died when he was 6 years old. Any questions about anything that we've covered so far? Because this is the last of the class. This is it. We're going to stop right there, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So are there any questions? We're going to get into it in the next class, bi'idhnillah, which is next Saturday. We're going to get into the nursing of the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi. Are there any questions? Okay, I guess there aren't any questions that has to do with the topic. Even a question outside of the topic, no problem, inshallah. If it's conducive, we'll try to answer that, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, Abdul Rahman, I just got your answer for for I guess this will be the name of the father. You said Abdul Muttalib, which is wrong. If that's what you're mentioning here, Abdul Muttalib is not the father, not the father of the Prophet Muhammad, but is his grandfather. The father's name is Abdullah. So the Prophet Muhammad, he's Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib. Okay, so if there aren't any more questions, then we'll close it up. Yes, yes. Abdul Muttalib is the grandfather, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so let me see here. Okay, so with that, we say Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.